Hey entrepreneurs, executives, and spammers. We started the Pilothouse email and customer retention team to crush targets. And in our 4th year, we are the best customer retention team in the Roman character set. We use campaigns to fire up the addresses you spent so much money to acquire and build effective automations that keep your engagement window fat and drive value that you can amortize over years. The cheapest customer is the customer you already have, and the most effective ad funnels go to high-intent audience. Come to pilothouse.co, fill out the lead form, and ask to speak with me directly. I'll give you a free audit. Back to the show.
In the inbox late night, glowing screen, see the light. Email, everything feels alright.
What do brands do to lose customers? It's not the right way to think about it. The default is to lose a customer. The default is someone buys. Most people don't buy again. So we should not think, how do brands lose customers? We should think, how do brands keep customers? What are the kind of things you do to retain customers? But we're talking about customer retention right now, and customer support is a massive part of customer retention. We're not talking about marketing, we're actually talking about customer support. If you're not doing that stuff, you're not working to retain your customers. It's the world's best email and retention podcast, and I'm your host, Jordan Gordon. We are a member of the DTC network of podcasts and the philosophical home of the Pilothouse email and customer retention team. If you want to make the sweet nectar of low-cost revenue a big part of your digital ecosystem, follow us on your favorite podcast app today. This time, we're going to discuss how to keep customers. We were kind of just discussing content ideas in the background with among the DTC podcast team, and this one came up. What do brands do to lose customers? Right? What are brands doing to lose customers? And I thought about that, and it's not the right way to think about it. The default is to lose a customer. The default is someone buys. Okay, what's the reason they buy again? Most people, their life changes, time passes, their interests change, and most people don't buy again, unless you're a very specific business model like a product subscribe or something like that. So we should not think, how do brands lose customers? We should think, how do brands keep customers? What are the kind of things you do to retain customers? And this is not an email-specific talk. This is solidly customer retention. In a kind of a previous life in e-commerce, I was a strategist for customer experience. So there's these kind of concepts. There is a talk we did about this recently. You can go back in the World's Best Email Retention podcast, and we did discuss first 5 minutes, which is how is someone's first 5 minutes with your product, right? That first 5 minutes really affects whether or not they're going to repeat. So, first, retention starts with the product. There's actually a whole talk we did on that. And then we have also discussed, and so I'll do it really quickly, obviously, in the package, bounce back coupon. In your package, we just discussed this a couple of days ago, depending on the kind of brand you have and the kind of product you have a piece of paper in the package, encouraging them to make their next purchase, which would be accessories or another category or something like that. It has to be simple because you can't really segment it. It's just a piece of paper. So maybe it's just a certain number of dollars over 50% above $150, something like that. But have the little piece of paper in there to encourage them to make their second purchase. You got to change the code regularly. It's a piece of paper. So you can't individualize the code. You got to change the code or it ends up on a coupon site and use that to track how successful it is, but worth it. Okay? So those things. Yeah, we discussed already. First 5 minutes, bounce back coupon. Now, when I was thinking about this, I wanted to use an example of something I had bought and not yet repurchased for. And I thought, why don't we use Dune Imperium right behind me? It's a board game. It's a board game based on the Dune films. Pretty nerdy, I guess, right? I play the Dune board game with buddies, but I'm a 45-year-old dad, so whatever. In the Dune Imperium kind of board game world, there's a bunch of expansions. You can get another board that, focuses on the second film, and you can get some stuff that focuses on, you know, kind of extended concepts within the Dune universe. And, every time it's a new box. You buy a new box, it's got the new stuff, it's got the new kind of artwork, the new pieces, right, for the Dune board game. All right, I bought the first one. Why haven't I bought the second one? Why hasn't that happened yet? And I thought about this. Well, if anybody's been following the pod a lot, we know I'm moving around with my family. We're actually moving in a month. We've been in Mexico for a year. It's been really, really cool. And I am still, we've got our kind of papers so we can come back in future, but we've got some other things to do. We've got some other adventures to have. Okay, well, you know what? So it's not the right time to buy the next box set because everything has to fit in a bag. And this ties into a very important concept when it comes to people repeating. They largely repeat when they're good and ready. You try to move mountains to make them a repeat buyer within 30 days, of course. And if you do that and you do it consistently, there's a cash flow benefit because you're drawing that revenue forward. But it ends up ultimately being not the biggest part of your retention program. The first 30 days, the biggest part, we just did this in a cohort analysis. The biggest part is quarters and quarters and quarters afterwards when people make those repeat purchases. In that context, understanding that it's mostly the customer's mostly in the driver's seat when they're going to purchase again, right? We live in a society where 60 to 70% of GDP is driven by consumers, right? So what are some things that Dune Imperium could be doing to improve my experience and make me want to make that repeat purchase when the time is right? Bottom line, before we get into the list, ultimately, and this is what we should think about. Now we're talking about customer retention here. This is not email. So what do you want to do to retain the customer? You want to create amazing experiences, right? We're getting like super Apple, think different kind of level strategy here. You want to create amazing experiences. So for Dune Imperium, you want to create, for me, a great time with my friends. We've got a buddy who's got a kind of spot on a little desert oasis here in Mexico. We play the game and maybe barbecue a bit. There's a nice view. It's a wonderful experience. So how can Dune facilitate that wonderful experience and those good times? So I go, I want to make these times even better. Like, this has been so good. Well, let's just start going through a list. You know what? There's a rule book, sifting through it, and of course it's brief, right? They want people to start playing quickly. So where did I end up? I ended up lots just like on Reddit. Like, I've got some question. How this like this like this. And I really appreciate Reddit and Redditors. I'm not much of a Redditor these days, but I used to go there for my memes. I appreciate Reddit's there, but if I ended up on Reddit, there's a gap. Some search that I did not end up on a Dune Imperium or their kind of parent brand. I did not end up on a page, right? That had, say, just obviously just the rules, extended rules, frequently asked questions. And that would have been a nice experience. And I would have thought, oh, these guys have it together. They just have it together. Here, I'm on this page. It was well SEO'd. I found it right away. And it's just got answers to all this stuff. This is so seamless and easy. I want to buy the next box set, right? How about while I'm there, an AI chat that answers my questions, right? I mean, this is obviously this is the next big thing for every company, is just chatting with a bot that answers these questions and helps you get through weird situations. Our swordmaster, blah, 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 blah. What about the mentat? You just ask the bot. The bot answers the questions. So that should all just be really well SEO'd. And it's basically just like an online support space. So what are we talking about here? We're not talking about marketing. We're actually talking about customer support. A lot of what I did when I was a digital strategist for post-purchase experience was customer support. A huge amount of what I did, right? So of course here at Pilothouse, we're focused on marketing, but we're talking about customer retention right now. And customer support is a massive part of customer retention. When somebody calls, the way that that phone call goes is a customer retention experience. It's a customer retention touch point. When someone Googles, how do I do this with your product? And, ends up on, like I say, a Reddit page, or they end up on a video and someone's like, hey, I'm unboxing this thing I bought. That is a customer retention experience. Every time someone emails you and they got questions about their purchase, that is a customer retention touch point. Okay? How about this? Why not have like a QR code and I click on the QR code with my phone and it brings up a Spotify playlist to listen to while we play the game. We put on the Dune soundtrack, right, to play with. But like the thing about the soundtrack is there are plenty of points along the way where the soundtrack is like, and that's the whole thing, right? Weird sounds in the background. And, my wife was like, this is a bit much, right? So, yeah, makers of Dune Imperium, why not fix that problem by making a sweet playlist that's intended to improve gameplay and have a little piece of paper in there or on the box, you link it to a QR code. Yeah, why not? Right? Create that amazing experience. Like, oh, wow, I got to get more games from these guys, right? This is sweet. And how easy would that be? Oh my God, it'd be so easy. How hard is it to create a Spotify playlist? Like, we're talking about things that are so cheap for this brand to do. To create a Spotify playlist and put a QR code anywhere in the package that is like, compared to, what are they doing to bring in a new customer? Spending hundreds of dollars, spending millions of dollars on Facebook, millions of dollars. And we're like, hey, why not put in a QR code in a Spotify playlist? And so what this should be doing, entrepreneurs, executives, and spammers, is hopefully giving you this kind of context, this reframe. Like, oh, wow, customer retention is, in part, all of the stuff we've been talking about in this podcast for the last long while, and the DTC podcast before that, very technical stuff, get in the inbox, blah, 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 blah. But also, and critically, just creating good experiences. That's customer retention. A good playlist to play my game to. Lost pieces. What do you do? Right? Got a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, pieces just disappear for your games. So you either buy the whole box again, which is like, nah, come on, right? Or you are making little pieces of paper with stickmen you drew on them. Here's my other sword master, right? That's kind of kills the mood. It kills the vibe a bit because you got all your stuff going on and you're listening to your cool music and then you got your little piece of paper with a sword master on it. Well, why not, hey, lost pieces? Here's a coupon code for a piece booster pack. And what is it? It's just a bunch of different pieces. You can just buy the little booster pack and you say on the little piece of paper, like, look, guys, we can't give this away. We got to ship it to you, et cetera, et cetera. We're trying to run a business here. Be honest with your customers. People appreciate that. We're trying to run a business here. We can't just give this away. But what we'll do is we'll just give it to you very cheap. Make sure we cover our costs. Here's this little thing. It's valid for plenty of time. And then, I can just get my piece pack, which just has a whole bunch of the little pieces, order it, and I'm good to go. And then I know that, in future, if I lose more pieces, I know what to do. So what is this doing? It's just solving a common customer problem. Or customer support is a huge part of customer retention. I mean, it's interesting, right? The product itself, the customer support, and then the promotional marketing. Let's call those 3. I have not defined this yet on the pod, and so I may come back to you with a new definition. I'm making this up on the fly, but let's call this a trifecta for what customer retention is. It's the actual product that you're using. If the product works, you're going to bring more customers. There's support. People have problems that you haven't solved with the product, problems that you can't solve with the product, problems that are just like not even really problems, they're perceived problems. All these kinds of things, right? Customer support, supporting them, right? And then promotional. Okay, come on, 20% off. Let's get the next box set, right? We'll call that trifecta, customer retention. This fixes a common support problem. My dog ate my piece, right? So that's a neat little experience. Okay, let's get into email. That was all super not email stuff. That was all in the box. Look, all of that stuff we just described is in the box. I haven't even got my first email or my first whatever. It's just in the box. Okay. So I went and I did subscribe to the parent brand for Dune Imperium. And they could have asked me what game I have or games. They could have, because they do more than one. They do a bunch of games, right? In the very least, have a list of top games. Pretty sure Dune Imperium's one of the top games right now from what I saw there. Pretty popular movie. So if they would have just had that with the little subscribe, I could have indicated that was my game, and then all the communications could have been Dune Imperium specific. Because I'm getting so many emails from these guys that are like nothing to do. One of them was Cats on a Pirate Ship. It was a video game for cats on a pirate ship. That's not what I'm there for. First, let's collect some zero-party data on what games I have. And then, of course, also first-party data, what I'm browsing. If I'm just browsing the Dune Imperium stuff, I'm a Dune Imperium guy. And ways that you can manage that is have, when somebody browses a product, put them in a 3-message journey. So that can be any number of different products. They can get all the different 3-message journeys. But then also, when they browse on a product line, write something to their account, to a profile property that says, I guess not a binary, sorry, that says Dune. So the email sender knows the most recent product they browsed was Dune. Now, for tons of people, so many people, many of their customers are going to have bought only one game, and they're going to have browsed only one game. I mean, this is how the data looks. Most people, one thing, one click, one open, one game, most people. And then you get this long tail of people who've, have got 5 different games or something, right? So you got your zero party and your first party data solution for figuring out I'm a Dune guy for email, right? And then what are we going to do? Send me a getting started, right? Now that requires that I'm a buyer. So maybe you're going to have to screw around a bit there. I mean, I bought it in the store. I actually bought it in the store because I was looking for a different game. And then I saw it there and I got it. So getting started is great when you know there's a purchase. You can set your Shopify up with your POS so that Shopify knows that and collect the email address at point of sale. Then Shopify knows that I've bought that game. If you have a rich digital and omnichannel ecosystem and you have your own stores, you can do that. In this case, they've got different little hobby shops have these games. So they're not always going to know, But you could ask, at the beginning, it's asking like, what games are you interested in? You could ask what games you bought. You could try to gather that information, or you could just have the getting started only go when you obviously know when you have a purchase. That's the most standard. Getting started when you know you have a purchase. The reason I say getting started, maybe from this zero and first party data is like, there are going to be so many people who buy it in store and then go and start searching online, for resources and stuff like that. So it'd be neat to find a path to get them on the, on kind of getting started. How about some more interesting stuff? Tournament videos. Dude, this stuff is nerdy, okay? Like, It's nerdy stuff. You've got Dune tournaments. I've watched some to get some strategies, right? So there's really, really strong players. Why not introduce me to that whole ecosystem? I don't need the cats on a pirate ship video game that I'm really playing on my mobile. That's not me, right? Figure out who I am, which they have not yet tried to do, and introduce me to this vast ecosystem. Also, interesting, Dune Imperium has like thought leaders who are just ordinary people who play, and they, you can go find things that say, oh, the different cards, the different powers. Yeah, here's what I think about the different powers, and if you should get this power, right? And they break it down in those little things, A, B, C, D, and you kind of drag it, right? And you rank things, that kind of thing. Yeah, these thought leaders. So, you know what? It is technically, I mean, not technically, it's definitely dangerous as a big brand to just link to unaffiliated people, because what if they just go off the rails and start saying crazy stuff? It's a crazy time. So you could sign a little deal with them saying, hey, look, we're gonna kick you some money and we want to just feature your stuff, but we want you to just say you're not gonna make any statements like this when you're dealing with Dune Imperium, for instance. Or you can just do it yourself, right? I mean, we already had a team who created a great Spotify playlist. Why not have a team? It's a new age that just goes to the little thing and drags the stuff on the little ranking thing right in front of the screen and does a little mini podcast. That's just part of your internal marketing team. And then you control exactly what they're saying. And where do you get the details from that? Well, you just get it from the thought leaders. Those thought leaders out there with their own little Dune Imperium podcast, they don't have any IP on their opinions. You just go out there on that webosphere, you get that, and you do it yourself, right? And then you can send people to it through email and SMS. And that'd be pretty amazing, right? Oh, wow. Look at card rankings, right? Power rankings. That's my list. And it's kind of a weird episode for you, I realize. But again, it was triggered by someone coming to me and saying, how do people lose customers? Wrong question. How do they keep customers? And hopefully the unlock from this is, it's not like buy the next product, here's a 20% coupon. That's actually not how you keep customers. That's how you get customers over the finish line. This is the unlock to understand. Should you discount? Yes, of course you should. You should discount at the appropriate point in the customer lifecycle or the purchase journey, where they've thought about it, they've considered, right? You're not trying to create demand with discounts. That just makes people think, oh, the product is not as expensive as it is. You're supposed to go, oh, you know what? I make them do the work. I did all the work. I investigated. I clicked. I got, some browse abandon. I went on the site, blah, 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 blah. Okay, now it's checkout abandon. And I just walked away from my computer. I couldn't quite make the decision. Oh, 15% off. They're making the decision for me. Okay, I'll do it. That's what the discount is for. So should you do that? Yes, absolutely. Just get them over the finish line. Maybe if you're Ralph Lauren, okay, not Ralph Lauren, but everybody else, right? First of all, that's first-time buyer, what we were just discussing there. I mean, it works for repeat as well, but a lot of that's first-time buyer. We're talking about keeping the customer. Well, before we even get to the investigation, I'm thinking about the next box set. Look, I've done all the work. I've gone to the purchase journey. I've checked this. I've checked that out. Oh, here's the coupon. Once we get to that for a repeat buyer, all of this stuff has happened. I've unboxed it. I've looked at what's in there. I've dealt with problems. I'm missing pieces. The playlist isn't as good as it could be, right? Hey, look at the videos they're sending me to. Oh, card rankings. Oh, this one has cards from the next box set. I gotta get the next box set if I want to do this card ranking thing, right? So you've gone through that whole gauntlet of stuff. By the time you get to, hey, check out abandoned repeat buyer, here's 15% off or whatever it is, make the purchase. All of this stuff has to have worked. And if all of this stuff is a gap for you, you're not working to retain your customers. It's just not important to you. I just listed kind of the science of customer retention. If you're not doing that stuff, you're not working to retain your customers. On that note, entrepreneurs, executives, and spammers, have fun spamming.
In the inbox late night, glowing screens see the light. Email, everything feels alright.
Hey entrepreneurs and spammers, remember, you can't scale without email, and the cheapest customer to acquire is the customer you already have. So please subscribe to the world's best email and retention podcast and learn how to make low-cost revenue a big part of your digital ecosystem.